Okay, today we're going to continue on page 41, which we have been talking about area. And so far we've done area of a parallelogram, and you should have had this all filled out. Today we're going to fill out the middle, and that's going to be area of triangles. And then we're going to fill out this side, which is going to be area of trapezoids. So the first thing we want to do is start in the middle with triangles. So just like I wrote parallelogram up here, I'm going to write triangle in whatever color you choose. I am going to use light blue. Okay, and if you want, you can make it cute and do a little outline. Okay, and then I'm going to write the formula for the area of a triangle right here, and I'm just going to use orange for all my formulas. That way, I always know that the orange represents the formulas. So I'm going to go over here, and the area, the formula you use for a triangle is area, capital A, equals, now it's base times height. It's just like this, except for you're going to write base times height, and then you have to divide it in 2, because a triangle is actually half of your rectangle. So you do base times height first, and then you divide by 2. One thing you might want to make sure that you remember is the base and the height, again, have to make a 90-degree angle, and that is your reminder at the top of the page. Some of you might want to write this out in words, so you can write area equals base times height, and then write divided by 2, if that helps you remember that that's what that formula means. Okay, so we're going to go to our first example. So you're going to flip open your paper. And when we look at this triangle, first I want to highlight my base and my height. So I'm looking for the two things that make a 90-degree angle. Here is my 90-degree angle. So it looks like this 5 and this 10 make up my base and my height. Now it really doesn't matter what you call the base and what you call the height, as long as you are using the 10 and the 5. So our first step on everything that involves a formula is to write the formula itself. So we're going to write area equals base times height divided by 2. Once you have that written, you must show step by step what you've done. So this should be a 4-step process. So I have the formula, and now I'm just going to fill in numbers for my base, my height. So area equals, I'm going to use 10 for my base right here, and 5 for my height. 10 times 5 divided by 2. Now I know some of you can just do that in your head and you know that it's 50, but you must show the 10 times the 5 on paper. Now you get to solve it. So 10 times 5 is 50. Area equals 50 divided by 2. And your final answer would be area of this triangle is 25 meters squared. Remember to always put the squared on the units, not on the number. It goes with the units. And then you would box your answer. If you look back, you have 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. You need to make sure you write all of those steps in order to get full credit. Okay. Next, we're going to go to our next example. And in this one, I'm going to write the formula first. So it's area equals base times height divided by 2. And now I need to locate what is my base and what is my height. So I'm looking for my right angle. Here's my right angle. The two things that make this up are the 14 and the 18. These are the only two numbers I'm going to use. I'm going to go back and fill it into my formula. So area equals 14 times 18, and then I divide by 2. Now, since you guys get to use calculators, you can go ahead and type in your calculator 14 times 18. So if I do 14 times 18, it becomes 252. And I have to divide that by 2. Remember to show each one of these steps. When you divide that by 2, your answer is 126. You have to label it feet, and feet is squared. Okay. Now that is the formula that we use for triangles. And you guys are going to get one of these little strips of paper, which you are going to put in the book right here. And in a moment, we're going to let you solve those on your own, okay? Using this formula. Next, we're going to go to our third section of our foldable right here. And this is your trapezoids. So I'm going to pick purple, and I'm going to write trapezoid. Okay, I'm going to do my little outline, make it look cute. Okay, the formula, I'm going to write it in orange. Now this one is a little bit tricky. This formula starts with a capital A, and then you have to add the bases. So it's base plus base. And that has to be in parentheses. We will talk more about the bases in a moment. Once you add the bases, you have to times it by the height. And then when you're all done, you have to divide that whole thing by 2. So I know that looks a little strange. Area equals base plus base times the height divided by 2. And if you want, you can write that out to help you remember in case you forget. Area equals base plus base times height, then divide by 2. Okay, so now before we do this, in a moment you guys are going to be folding this up like this, and we're going to glue it in. So you're still going to have a little bit of room right here. And you know how we had a reminder above? We're going to write a little hint down at the bottom, and your hint is going to be that the parallel lines are your bases. The parallel lines are your bases. Okay? So now we have to go back to the formula and see what that means to us. So if we turn back into this, I'm going to open it up, and I have this. Now, I'm going to first write the formula because I think that's helpful to know what to do. So it's area equals base plus base times the height divided by 2. Okay, so we said that your bases are your parallel lines. So if I take my red marker, I see that 5 is parallel to the 8. That means 5 and 8 would make up my bases in this shape. And then I need to find the height. And just like before, the bases and the height have to make a 90-degree angle. So you're still looking for that 90-degree angle. And do you guys see this angle right here? That tells me that 4 would be my height, because it makes 90 with that, and it makes 90 with that. Now that I have labeled my bases and my height, I'm going to go back to my formula and start filling everything in. You do not get to do anything in your head. You must write it into the formula. Area equals, now, base plus base. 8 plus 5 or 5 plus 8. It doesn't matter the order. You're just going to write 8 plus 5 times my height. My height was 4, so times 4. Once I have that filled out, I have to divide the whole thing by 2. And now I'm going to do my math. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 times 4 divided by 2. You can only do one step at a time. So now we have area equals 52 divided by 2. And 52 divided by 2 gives me an answer of 26 centimeters squared. When you're doing the trapezoid, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. So you can only do one thing at a time, just like when we did order of operations. You bring everything down and continue on. One more example. We might have to write kind of small since we have 5 steps. I might start it over here. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is write my formula. So area equals base plus base, put that in parentheses because you do it first, times the height, divided by 2. Now we have to locate what are our bases and what are our height. And remember, your hint on your paper told you that the parallel lines were your bases. So if I look up here, just happens to be the top and the bottom again, but it's not always the top and the bottom. So you're just looking for the 2 parallel lines. And then the height has to make a 90-degree angle. I see this right here, so I know this is my height. Okay, so these are the numbers I'm going to use. Area equals, my bases are 11 plus 16 times my height of 12. So I did 11 plus the 16, then I have to times that by the 12 and divide by 2. Okay, I'm going to follow my order of operations. I'm going to add 11 and 16. So I'm going to get 27 times the 12 divided by 2. And then I have to do my multiplication. 27 times 12 is 324, and I'm going to divide that by 2. Since you're using a calculator, all you have to do is show these steps. You can do all the math in your calculator. $324 divided by 2, which is 162 millimeters squared. Since it's still area, you put the squared on the units. Okay, again, if you look back, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. And then what we're going to do is, this is your foldable for this page. It is complete now. So we are going to fold in the 2 sides, and then you are going to put glue just on the back, and you are going to glue it in right there. That way, anytime you need the formulas, you can just go ahead and open them up. And then the last thing to glue in is just like with the triangles, we gave you 3 to practice. Now we're giving you 3 to practice for the trapezoids. So we are going to glue all of this in, and you're going to complete those, and your teacher will check them.